Welcome back to the Super Canine Show. I'm your host, William Chandler Duff, and today we are going to be talking to a very talented dog trainer, Maureen Eva Cucinella. And she works with everything from basic pet obedience to serious behavior modification and advanced trick training and IGP. Maureen, welcome to the Super Canine Show.
Thank you for having me. I'm so excited to talk dogs.
Brilliant. Okay, so I suppose we can't start this episode without briefly talking about the Dylan Jones-Robert Cabral fiasco, of which you've been reasonably vocal about your stance in this. But what is your take on the broader issue of dog training professionals using potentially offensive language on social media, and how do you think we should approach these issues as individuals?
Well, my take may be pretty controversial. I thought you nailed it in your podcast on it, your solo podcast you did. I'm also a free speech absolutist. I am some people can express their ideas better, even with offensive language, as much as other people may dislike that. I grew up with sticks and stones may break my bones, but words will never hurt me. I also have grown up as, I'm a millennial, so I've grown up online a lot. So some of the language he uses for me is something I've seen a lot and is, it's not shocking to me like it is to some other people. I'm very big on actions speak louder than words. I think Dylan's a very talented trainer from what I've seen. I don't know him personally, but from what I've seen, he has personally inspired me too to show more of my work. And I've seen other trainers show their work too. So I actually think that despite how abrasive his takes can be, and even though I might not express my takes with the same language, I think that he's overall more good than bad for the industry. I also find that it seems like dog trainers, like the big influencers, seem to be almost untouchable when it comes to criticism. And I think that's a problem, right? We can't criticize some of the leading positive reinforcement trainers, such as Michael Shikashio or Susan Garrett. And I think that's not fair. But yet, at the same time, you can see those same leaders and many people in that community criticize people like Ivan, right? Butchering his last name in an offensive way. And nobody bats an eye, right? So there's quite a bit of hypocrisy there. But at the end of the day, it's all about, let's see your work. Can you actually train dogs? Actions speak much louder than words.
Definitely. And I certainly don't support the kind of rhetoric that Dylan uses, and I don't think it's helpful in general. I certainly don't support it myself, and it's not the way that I would choose to speak.
Right.
But I do support his right to say it, and I also think that it's perfectly fine for people to choose not to associate with him, not to break bread with him, so to speak, but to rally the mob against him. It's and when you've got that amount of influence, then you certainly have the capacity to do that. But yeah, I don't support his use of offensive language. But still,
yeah, some of it can be like super abrasive. I'm like I said, I'm not going to go out there using the same language and
definitely not.
Yeah, or telling people to do certain things to themselves. But I'm not just going to be like, oh, I don't support him as a trainer anymore. I still think that he's doing good and interesting things with dogs, despite the offensive language and certain things that he has said. But that's kind of my take on it.
Definitely. So moving on, let's talk about socialization. What does genuine socialization look like, and what does it actually require for you?
So I see these days that there's this big fad on like, oh, your dog doesn't have to say hi to everybody or say hi to every dog. And there's definitely truth in that. But like, I think it's gone so extreme that people are actually now afraid to let their dogs say hi to people or other dogs. I'm all about, like, when I'm in public and I have one of my dogs with me on a leash or a puppy, I do give my dog like the permission to go say hi with the word, hey, go say hi. I want my dogs to be social, but there's definitely some dogs and some people where I don't feel like it's safe for them to interact, you know. And as a trainer, you know, I can kind of take a look at the dog on the street or the dog at like a park, not necessarily a dog park, but like just a regular park, and be like, is this going to be a good interaction for my dog? Right. But there's like there's some trainers are bragging that, oh, my dog has actually never played with another dog. My dog has never said
There's a
hi
lot
to
of
another
trainers
dog.
like that. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that's such a problem because I used to be like that. You know, back when I went through the Tom Rose School, which it's a very challenging program. You basically pick two puppies. I picked a German Shepherd and I picked a Labrador. And one of their biggest rules was like, oh, the dogs can't play with each other. And, oh, you don't want your dogs interacting with the people. And if they do, you correct them. Right. And some trainers are still doing this, especially sport dog trainers.
Yeah.
And for me, it's one of the biggest regrets I have is not letting my dogs interact with other dogs, interact with people when they were young like that, because it almost created a bit more anxiety or a bit more curiosity. They were like, oh, I'm not supposed to do that thing, but why can't I? And it's in the back of their mind. Whereas these days, I fixated so much on play. I know it's a hot topic right now. You know, I'm training without conflict graduate, so I love play.
It's a hot topic for a reason.
Yeah, it really is. And I created such an obsession with my dogs playing with me that when I do have them around my clients' dogs, they will play with them. But if they know that I want to work with them and play with them, they would much rather do that with me than the other dog. And they're like, oh, let's play, let's tug, let's, you know, play chase and catch. And then I can even release them to go say hi. But oftentimes they're like, well, I just want to play with you more. I can do a focus healing and my dog's ears are forward, totally fixated on me and totally happy and not even thinking about the other dog. They don't have anxiety about the other dog either because they've seen quite a bit of dogs in their lives and they've been able to play with quite a bit of dogs in their lives. So that curiosity on the other dog has been satisfied, right? They're not, ooh, what is that dog doing? Is it scary? Is it exciting? It's like, oh no, that's just a dog. But you're way cooler to play with. And I can, you know, for a lot of competition dogs, people are like, well, you don't want your dog to play with other dogs so that they don't, when you're on the trial field and they see the other dog in the long down, they don't want to just go and run and play with the other dog, right? But if you create that obsession with interacting with you and playing with you, then they're going to choose you over the other dog, and you're not even going to have to worry about it. But that's kind of where I'm at with it. Some people will disagree with that, but I absolutely believe in, hey, let your dog socialize, give them that permission to say hi, but make sure that you create the obsession with interacting with you.
Yeah, I totally agree. There's this, you're right, there is this trend online from big dog trainers, smaller dog trainers, everyone, of this obsession over that socialization somehow means neutrality and that we want to avoid interacting with other dogs and people at all costs. So you're completely right about that. And that to me is the absolute opposite of what socialization should mean and what socialization should be.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's like, you know, you get those videos that get so many views of people talking about it, or of those people outside the dog park that say, oh no, not friendly. And it's like, it's just so old. It's so boring. You know, show me your dog, like just wanting to interact with you, with the other dogs around, and start educating people on how to create that obsession with you. So that way they're not so fixated on the other dog. So they're not like, oh, I need to go play with that thing because I'm so curious about it, or it's so exciting, or it's way more fun than you. You can create more fun with you without even, I don't even think I've corrected either of my current puppies for interacting with another dog. Like when I've told them to do something, because they're so fixated on what we're doing because the interaction with me is so fun now. Whereas in the past, like I said, I would correct dogs for interacting with the other dog or interacting with the other person. but I really don't have to do that anymore.
Right. Absolutely. So, when you decide to breed, you're making a claim about what constitutes a good life for future generations of dogs and their owners. What principles guide that decision? How do you ensure the puppies are prepared not merely to survive, but to flourish in a complex human world?
Yeah, so I am big on keeping dogs until they're 10 weeks old, right? I personally, now I've only had one other litter. Like this is my second litter, so I'm new. So I don't want to come off like I know everything about breeding. This is what I know
Mm.
today as a trainer and as a breeder.
Yeah.
I'm big on them staying with mom and interacting with their litter mates till 10 weeks old. In the past, like I like to refer back to my time at Tom Rose because it's a very like traditional viewpoint. Um, they would actually encourage you to take them earlier than 8 weeks if you could, so you can start with training earlier. And it's like that's not good for the dog. The best lessons they can learn is with mom,
Mm.
right? And with their siblings. They learn bite inhibition, they learn social skills and play skills, and how to emotionally regulate themselves. I also work with them on not mouthing on skin those last couple of weeks. And by the time they go home, or at least with my last litter, 0 dogs were mouthing on people's skin. And it did not affect their ability in bite work like some people seem to worry about. You know, you see those videos of some Malinois dangling off people's clothes. Whereas, like, I get that viewpoint. I've been there, but they can understand the difference between, oh, we're playing the bite word game and, oh, I'm interacting with you just with petting and through everyday life.
Mm.
And during those couple of weeks too, we work on crate training, potty training skills. Actually, those start like as soon as the dogs are able, or the puppies are able to control their bowels and bladders. We create a potty space in the whelping box so they can go over to that spot, eliminate, and then, you know, go back to play. And it goes very smooth because by the time those dogs go home, they have a really good jump start on potty training too. They rarely have accidents. Of course, accidents can still happen because they're still developing their full bladder and bowel control even at 10 weeks old. But they have such a good jump start. So that part's really nice. Along with, again, the mouthing. I don't do too much command stuff. I
Mm.
might walk them around on the leash just so that they know what a leash is. But training commands and behaviors, that's the easy stuff, you know, like
Absolutely.
I just want to make sure that these dogs are nice and confident and happy, you know, when they go home. I do bring in like my clients that come and work with their dogs. I'll bring them into the puppies too, so the puppies can have some early social skills with people and even children. I have children come in and work with them. And my own personal dogs are very good with puppies, so they will interact with them too, so that way they can get a good jump start on socializing with dogs, because we all know how bad many shepherds especially can be with other dogs.
Absolutely. I think the key point there is you can't underestimate dogs' intelligence, even very young dogs.
Oh, for
Um,
sure.
what do you think about the various early neurological stimulation programs for puppies? Like, you had that military super dog program that had a load of environmental stimulation exercises in it, supposedly to increase the dog's levels of confidence in the world later on. What do you think of that?
um you know, I may have some obstacles like tunnels and teeter totters for the dogs to go on their own, you know,
Mm.
and explore those, so they have some kind of exposure to that. But as for having like some kind of special imprinting program or early neurological stimulation, I personally haven't done that. I personally don't think um, that, like, from what I understand from talking with other breeders that have done it with litters and other litters they haven't done it, they haven't noticed a significant difference. And letting puppies be puppies is going to be the best education for them at that time. You know, and if they want to explore the obstacles, which they typically do, they'll go on the teeter totters on their own. They'll go through the tunnels. I can have a kiddie pool in there with some things in it, and they'll go into that on their own. But I'm not like, oh, I have this process, this special imprinting process. I think genetics are a big factor. along with that early socialization with mom and litter mates. But who knows? My opinion on that may change. A year from now, I might be like, hey, I actually found this really cool imprinting program. But I think if you select for good genetics, and just let the dogs be dogs and be puppies, I think you get more out of that than if you try to distract them with these imprinting protocols. Many will probably disagree with that, but that's where I'm at today.
Brilliant. So, what are the biggest mistakes you see new puppy owners make in the first 6 to 12 months, and how can people avoid them?
A lot of times people focus too much on basic obedience commands and basic behaviors rather than getting their dog to just enjoy being with them and interacting with them and playing with them. I personally have been guilty of this. When we get our new puppies, especially as trainers, we're obsessed with, well, I'm going to do all this luring. I'm going to get the most beautiful focus heel because I'm going to focus on luring from the time my dog's 8 weeks. And by the time they're a year, I should have this amazing, like, neck up focused healing going on. And I feel like they're distracting themselves. I fell into that with my dog Smith. I was very obsessed with, I want that really nice head up heel, and I'm going to work on conditioning all these things. And rather than just focusing on, well, I'm going to just expose my dog to the world, I'm going to get them really good and obsessed with playing with me, and the actual behaviors and commands will work on those later after I have the play, right? With my last dogs, I don't even think I started teaching them things until they were maybe 6 months old. Just my biggest thing when I think back to it is I did teach him how to bark on cue. I think barking on cue, when it comes to sport dogs especially, can be one of the greatest tools. And I think it's very underrated too. Getting your dog to enjoy barking, and then getting paid with the ball, playing with them, getting them to play chase and catch. But I do think us as dog trainers, we just focus too much on, I'm going to get these really cool behaviors. And then they get the dog about a year old and they might have some weird behavioral issue stuff going on. I did personally with my dog Smith. I focused on those behaviors so much, and I didn't focus on, well, I'm going to expose you to people and other dogs and new environments, that, as he got older, he got kind of funny. About 1 year old, he became a bit overly curious about other people or other dogs, a bit nervous. Whereas with these other puppies, where I'm like, we're just going to focus on play, and I'm going to let you interact with people. I'm going to let you interact with dogs. I've gotten much better results in my training, whether it is the advanced training or even just their behavior in general. They're so social, when I need them to be, but if I need them to work, they completely focus on me, but yeah, to sum it up, just stop focusing so much on behaviors. Sit down, stay, healing, play with them, get them barking, get them to see people, get them to see other friendly dogs, and just take that time to enjoy having a puppy and enjoy playing with them, enjoy interacting with them. Another thing too I want to mention is, like many trainers these days, I was also obsessed with getting my dog to work for their meals. I'm going to hand feed you, and like your rewards come from me, and I'm going to work on that. And I also think that can be a big mistake. I think
Right.
again, we're distracting ourselves from the things that really matter. The joy to interact with you just because they enjoy it, not because they need to interact with you to get their daily meal. You see what I'm saying?
Absolutely. To survive.
Yes. I used to be big on that, but I've taken a total change in direction in my training from that. And my dogs, I don't think I use food at all in their training. This last time, whereas in the past it was like the foundation for everything I did was food luring or shaping. I wanted to experiment with what would happen if I didn't use food luring at all, and I just got the obsession with play, and the results are just out of this world. and I'm so excited to take him on the trial field this year.
Wow, that's brilliant. So you like to play frisbee with your dogs, as
Love
do
it.
I.
Mm-hmm.
But we all know there can be some extra risks when playing fetch with a frisbee versus a ball. What are some of your top tips for preventing frisbee-related injuries?
Ooh, that's a really good one. This makes me think about my dog Connie.
Mm.
Connie is an extremely athletic dog. If you throw the frisbee too high, she's very fast and she will launch up. Like this dog can launch 6 feet in the air and grab it. So you want to make sure that you know if your dog is going to be prone to having that almost no self-preservation like personality, and you can throw it lower or you can do a lot of rollers. And for normally like with my play sessions, they'll be longer, but with those kind of dogs, I'll keep them nice and short. um and I won't do like 5 or 10 minutes of it. With her, I only do like a few minutes if I do frisbee. Whereas with my competitive frisbee dog Monster, she's the one I took to Skyhoundz World Championship back in 2023. She doesn't have that trait. She's very careful and aware of the environment. And if I throw it high, she will wait for it to come down a bit lower before she grabs it. But not a lot of dogs are like that. So with Connie, I have to make sure it's nice and low. And if I'm worried at all, I can just do some rollers with her. And it does depend on how competitive you want to be, right? So with rollers, you can do some competitions with those. Maybe not like Skyhoundz World Championship freestyle disc, but you can do like chase and catch, or toss and fetch competitions with just rollers if you really wanted to. But yeah, for many of those dogs, you have to go lower. And landing is a big deal too. Teaching the dog how to collect their body properly and land on all 4 legs is a big deal, because if they land on their rear first and then they land on their front, they can really hurt their back. And if they land too hard on their front, they can hurt their shoulders and their front end. So you want to make sure that if you are going to get the dog to a competitive level, you do teach him how to jump properly. Whenever I was working with Monster, I did a course online. It was Kirby McIlveen's course. She's a multi-world champion freestyle disc competitor. She is incredible. And she has some really good lessons on how to teach the dog how to collect properly and land properly. So that way you're less likely to have those injuries.
Okay, brilliant. So, yeah, that definitely gives everyone a little bit of information about how to play frisbee safely, because it's so fun, and the dogs that do enjoy the frisbee, they really really enjoy it. So,
oh yeah,
I love playing frisbee with my dogs, but I would add to that as well. A very basic tip, and maybe a very obvious one, is don't play frisbee when it's windy.
yeah, oh yeah. Oh, for sure. And don't play frisbee if there's like a downhill nearby.
Right.
If it accidentally goes down there, it can really injure your dog. They are very prone to launching, launching pretty far and fast. So yeah, that I've had some of my dogs have some scary landings where I'm like, oh no.
I mean, even with a ball, fetch itself can be quite dangerous. I mean, you have a load of trainers now that are like, oh yeah, we're not even going to play fetch. We're just going to place the ball stationary over there, wait for it to fully land, and then we're going to let our dogs go. And I'm like, that's a little bit too extreme. My dogs just love it too much.
Exactly. Just just be smart about it. Like, know your dog's limits. Know when they're done. I've personally had one of my dogs injured from fetch. It's not like I stopped playing fetch. It's just I got smarter about how to play fetch with her.
Yeah.
But this absolute don't throw your ball, throw a ball at the dog. You have to. It doesn't satisfy them, or it just leaves them in a higher state of arousal at the end of it. Like, come on, like there are things that can be done if that is the case. Throw some obedience in the mix or whatever. Just just play with your dog, man.
Yeah, absolutely. So if someone could only fix one thing with their dog right now to see the biggest improvement in quality of life, what would you tell them to focus on?
I need to think about that for a second.
Definitely.
I would love to use the word, focus on play, right? But I almost want to use the word drive more. If you can focus on training through drive and your emotion and the dog's emotions versus from an operant lens, it can change a lot about the training. If sometimes we get too operant with things, that we forget that dogs are emotional creatures and behaviors are driven through emotion. So I would work on having them shift that perspective, really getting them good at engaging and play with them. And oftentimes that will fix a load of issues. Even reactive dogs, many of these reactive dogs are just, reactive because they have a tendency to obsess with that thing that they see every time they go on the walk or every time they go to a new place or whatever. But if you channel that obsession to something productive, such as, oh, we play ball or, ooh, we play tug, it can solve so many problems. It really can.
Definitely. Okay, so my next question is, dominance theory has been vilified as outdated, yet hierarchies exist in every natural system. From wolf packs to human societies, how do you integrate structure without falling into the traps of either tyrannical control or permissive anarchy?
Yeah, I don't want to give such a cliche answer of like, oh, we have clear boundaries and I ask the dog to do something and I follow up with it and that kind of thing. The word dominance has almost become such a bad word, and there is truth to the word dominance, right? Again, like you said, all animals have these social structures of there is the higher being on top, there is that leader on top. And back in my force free days, because the beginning of my career, I was a force free trainer. I was so against dominance that my dog at the time, her name was Celia, she loved training with me, but she didn't respect me. And I had a boatload of issues with reactivity and such. I do think that having discipline, right? If I tell you to do this, I'm going to stick with that. And if you don't listen to that, I'm going to tell you no. And I'm going to, correct the dog for that, whether it's through negative reinforcement or delivering positive punishment. A lot of it is showing that you have clarity and you are a confident leader through how the dog sees you interact with things too. A lot of people forget that their dogs watches every interaction they do. And I've had some dogs in the past see me be anxious or see me be worried and then be like, well, I got to take over in this situation versus me being clear and confident. It's a complex issue. There's a lot of complexities with it. But I do think that all leaders have strict rules. Anything, we have rules and we must abide by those rules. And if those rules get broken, then there's consequences. And if we don't have that, then there's no leadership at the end of the day. It's just chaos.
Right. So there has to be rules. There has to be rules in the relationship between you and your dog. Mm-hmm. Definitely. So what's one training myth or trend you wish would disappear in the dog training world?
There's so many of them.
The top one.
This almost
the highest on the hierarchy.
Lately, it's the oh man, this obsession with luring really bothers me.
So you don't like luring?
I don't want to say I don't like luring because I use luring in some ways, but I think we have become so obsessed with it that we are distracted by it, right? Yeah. We spend so much time luring the dog that we don't spend time on actually interacting with them as another being. Like, oh, well, let me do like 5-6 sessions of luring with this dog so we can work on our goals. So that really bugs me. That's a big one. And then what I said earlier too, with the whole don't let your dog say hi to other dogs or socialization. That really, you know what, that might be number one right now. Actually, that one is lately, like I'm just so bothered by it, because it's like your dog has this emotional need to interact with other beings. You can't just stop them from saying hello or stop them from ever interacting with another member of their species. It's so important that they have that, but there's been this obsession too of, oh, that the dog needs to be so focused on me and not care about anything else around him. And you can have that while having a dog that can say hi and interact with other people. I think I'm going to have to pick that, you know, this really different way about going with socialization.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, people have really they've taken some extreme. They've really adopted a extremist neutrality mindset towards socialization.
And it's like people can't have fun with their dogs anymore. And then you go out, and then you see them go out in public, and they're being such a jerk to that golden retriever. Yeah, they're being a little annoying and lunging and wanting to say hi, but they're such a jerk about it.
Right.
You know, and it's become like such a common rage bait video kind of thing, where it's great for views, but it's kind of sad when you think about it. You know, it's not letting them be with their own species. Now, I get if you don't want them to obsess with the other dog, but that's what, you know, teaching your dog to interact with you too is all about, and teaching your dog to enjoy interacting with you, so they would prefer to interact with you over the dog. You know, my dogs, they interact with all kinds of other dogs, many different kinds. They love to play with them, but they would rather play with me because I've created that value so much.
But there's also, as well, like you say, you know, there's something to be said about giving them an outlet for socializing with other dogs, as well as socializing and playing with you. So there's something to be said for both. How much importance do you place on praise and different vocal tonalities you use in training, and maybe more broadly, your overall body language in training?
Oh yes, major emphasis for sure. Dogs are experts at reading us. They've evolved with us for thousands and thousands of years. So your tone can make the difference between your dog showing good emotions, bad emotions in their training, using it to motivate them, using it to calm them down. Sometimes, like, I see trainers, and I fall into this myself, where we're too flat. We're too like, sit down, come, heel. And then we just expect the dog to respond to that and just become very robotic with the dogs. But I can have a tone for sit if I want the dog to be a little bit faster and a little bit, like, give me a little bit more oomph. And if I want them to be a little calmer, sit down. Like, there's science behind that. Even if I have a dog that's a little hesitant or they're a little slow, I can do like a, come on, right? Even that can help motivate the dog to come up in attitude. Different praise tones, like a more flat, good. If I want a bit more calmer, if I want a bit more excitement, yeah, come on. If I'm upset, I can use a bit of a stern tone, and my dog can understand that emotion. Like, hey, no. When I do that with my dog, they're like, whoa, I'm sorry, right? But tone is a big one. And your body language too. Like, when I want my dogs to formally heel with me, I have, like, if I'm asking them to heel so nicely, it's almost like a dance, right? They do their part of the dance, and I got to do my part of the dance, right? So if I want them to heel very flashy, I have a certain way of moving and going about my body. Whereas if I'm doing more of a relaxed heel, like we're walking through the park, I can do like a bit of a sigh, and I can move my arms kind of more lazy and relaxed, depending on what kind of emotions I want my dog expressing out of them.
And this is for competition healing.
Yeah, competition. Even if with my client dogs, like if they have a dog where they want to have a bit more relaxed on their walks, and that's where I go with the heel, relax your arms, relax your shoulders. They feed off of every bit of that versus like, oh, we're going to be a bit more tense, or oh, we're going to be bit more frantic. So it helps with competition, and it also, of course, helps with our clients too.
Definitely. So it certainly is important. Free shaping. What's your thoughts on free shaping? I mean, you've talked about luring, and free shaping is maybe the next most trendy. So,
Yes.
what's your thoughts on free shaping?
I feel like I've seen the trend not kind of died down a little bit. I don't know about you.
Way, I like both of them. You know, there's a place for both of them.
Exactly. Like I'll play free shaping games with my dogs, but it can be more frustrating. Like you can have a lot more frustration in free shaping, and there's time for frustration. You can use frustration to do some really cool things with dogs. But if I really want to have, like, if I'm teaching a trick and I want my dog to get it very easily, I'm going to assist my dog more rather than just do a bit of free shaping and have them be frustrated and maybe accidentally mark and reward a part of that I don't like if I'm teaching for example, my dog to wipe their paws, right, like on a rug or something. Like a dog might get frustrated and try to bark or bite the rug is what they'll try to bite the rug, and that's not really what I'm looking for. Whereas I can help them out a bit with like jumping in there and being like, oh hey, do this, and maybe even scratch the rug myself, and based on our interactions together, they can see that I'm trying to help them. And that turns into more of like assisting them with the shaping versus constantly rewarding those small approximations and to get that big behavior without any assistance, right? Relying on the dog to make the right choice. But I used to use a lot of free shaping and do a lot of free shaping games. But these days I do prefer to help my dog along to save them from frustration and to save them from showing me a little bit of something that I may not like in the mix.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, in certain areas, it's the only option, or well, the only option in my mind is free shaping. If it's a really complex behavior, you know, I saw your video maybe of you you had a dog that was painting.
Yes, my girl Celia.
So right, so in that case, I mean, how did you teach that, Maureen?
Well, first I taught her how to hold an object on cue, right? So I would often start with like a very easy object. Then I taught her how to hold the paintbrush, right? And that was really hard for her at the time. But then I got her to hold the paintbrush, and
especially
then
in that direction as well, rather than holding it diagonally, holding it. Right.
Yeah, exactly. And that's where I'll help assist the dog more rather than just rely on just the free shaping part, because I believe with true free shaping, it's you're not helping as much, right? No. Whereas when you're doing more of like assisted shaping, you know, what other trainers, you know, they may call it. That's what I like to call it. You're kind of helping the dog along a little bit more, right? So, but yeah, so I get her to hold the paintbrush first, and then while I work on that, in a separate training session, I will teach them how to target like the canvas or a whiteboard, right? And I might call that board, right? So a board, they touch the board, yes, pay. Board, they touch the board, yes, pay, right? That I can do paintbrush, they take the paintbrush, board, and then they touch the board with the paintbrush. And a lot of times there's like like this hump that they have to get over where when they go to touch the board or touch the canvas, they may want to drop the paintbrush. So that's where I have to help assist, right? Or I can help assist with, here, let me hold your chin a bit and help you get there, right? Whereas in the past, I was a bit more obsessed with not helping them because I wanted them to figure out on their own, and it would take me a bit longer, right? Whereas with the assistant, I can speed things up a bit. Sorry, I keep messing with these ear things. They don't fit in my ears very well. These are my husband's. But I can speed up the process a bit with some assistance and frustrate the dog less. Because sometimes, like, or at least in the past with Celia, she would get so frustrated with me, she'd be like, oh, I give up. And part of that was too, as part of my training journey, I was still learning how to do things properly and probably may not have been showing the clearest way of going about it. But I can teach things so much faster now by, hey, let me help you hold that. Yeah, you see now the light bulb went off. Now you can hold it on your own. Right? Now you can touch it without going through this whole weird, without going through this whole weird process of letting the dog be frustrated, having them mouth on the paintbrush more, accidentally rewarding the wrong thing. If I can assist the dog and make it clear and faster, I'm going to do
it. Definitely. Okay. Maureen, how can people find out more about you and learn from you?
I have a YouTube channel. I've been slowly building it. Yeah, I have some videos with my friend Nate Schomer. He's a really good guy. Yeah, really good guy. I've actually known him for about... I'm sorry?
I've seen the podcast episodes you've had with him.
Oh, yeah. I've known him for like, 12 years now, because I met him when I was at Tom Rose. Right. So we've known each other for a bit. He's a really good guy, really fun guy to be around. A lot of energy. He helps really energize the room. But my YouTube channel, I have a lot of different videos on there, competition videos, trick videos, rehabilitation videos, some of my client dog videos. They don't have a lot of views because what I'm focused on is more of creating a profile for myself. For if anybody wants to see what I can do, it's on there. And then maybe eventually I might start doing more talking videos or tutorial videos, but I do have some tutorial videos with Nate. I haven't made any on my own just because, again, I want to build a profile before I go about making stuff like that. I also have my website, spiritedcanine.com, where I have my training programs and my breeding program on there. My breeding program is Von Blaubert German Shepherds, and you can find all our information on our German Shepherds on there too.
Awesome. Okay. Brilliant. So is there anything else you'd like to add before we end the podcast?
Let me think here. Man, I feel like I have so many things, but at the same time,
just go ahead. Say whatever is comes to mind.
Yeah. There's a lot of controversy and tension in the dog training world, and it can be really hard and confusing to know what advice to listen to. There's a lot of advice out there that just goes against dogs, like just as natural beings. There's a lot of advice where people try to make dogs more robots or look at it through that kind of perspective, and you can get lost in that, and you can end up with a lot of frustration. I would focus on some advice and trainers that look at your dog's instincts and help you understand your dog as the being that they are, versus trying to make them this perfect little robot. And at the end of the day, just play with your dog and have fun with your dog. And anybody that tells you otherwise, I wouldn't listen to them. That's a mistake I've made, where I've been too formal with my dogs in the past, where I've made training suck because I've been so focused on the behaviors versus my dog's emotions and just enjoying life with my dog. It's so easy to get caught up in that as a dog trainer. You try to do the best thing. You try to take trainers' advice to heart and do exactly what they tell you. And many people can end up having failure from that. So yeah, just don't go against who your dog is. Enjoy your dog, play with your dog, and happy training.
Beautiful. Okay, well, I'll get you to send me the YouTube link, and I'll put it in the description of this video. So anyone who's listening, there will be a link to Maureen's YouTube channel in the description. But for now, bye everyone, and thank you for listening to the Super Canine Show with Maureen Eva Cucinella. I hope I'm pronouncing your name right.
Cucinella.
Cucinella. Okay.
Yep.
Maureen Eva Cucinella and me, William Chandler Duff.
Yeah. Thank you so much for having me. I really enjoyed the conversation.